All right.
Getting back here, okay for you?
You guys are fantastic to look at, but that's okay.
Oh, yeah. Well,
We can all be grouchy sometimes. All right, I am ready.
you are ready?
I am ready.
You are live.
All right, welcome everybody to the May Moses Lake Community Coalition general meeting. So I'll start with our mission, vision, and values. Our mission is through community collaborative efforts. We support, advocate, and guide change that reduces youth and community substance use and its associated negative consequences. Our vision is that we envision a healthy, vibrant community that is free from substance abuse. And our values are health, empowerment, and collective responsibility. We'll start off with introductions. So I'll start with leadership. I'm Matt Pollock. I am the chair, the executive chair of the Moses Lake Community Coalition.
I am Lynn Otto, the vice president of the coalition.
Daniel Bushnell, youth representative.
And Austin's not here today. Megan?
Megan Watson, coalition coordinator.
All right. And is there anybody else in the room who would like to introduce themselves?
I'm happy to again.
Yeah.
Once again, got warmed up. My name is Justin Monger. I work with the Washington Poison Center. I'm the community health educator for Central and Eastern Washington. Occasionally I'm able to get in on this meeting on the online version. And, a lot of my job is the naloxone training, distribution, that kind of thing. And so the developments in Moses Lake recently, and I was looking for the verbiage, and I caught the city council meeting.
Yeah.
I was like, wow, that was difficult position to be in, I'm sure. So I was really excited that I happened to be at Big Bend in the afternoon today, and so this was happening. So left a little bit early and glad I could join you. So thanks.
Thank
Great.
you.
Thank you. Anybody else in the room like to introduce themselves? Going once, going twice. No? Okay. And online, is there anybody who is either new or would like to introduce themselves? Not hearing anybody? Okay. So let's jump right in. We're going to start with leadership reports. I'm going to defer to the other two before I do mine. Lynn, do you have anything you want to share?
As far as leadership reports, we're still needing to get the fundraising committee up and going. We're already the middle of May, halfway through the year, and the only thing that we've been able to accomplish is the football event that took place last November. And so we're really needing some collaboration from the whole committee on brainstorming different ideas. And being a part of the committee doesn't mean you actually have to participate in the actual fundraising, but collaboratively we need to come together and come up with ideas of what we want to do for fundraising so that we can get those dollars to help the coalition with our future
Stuff. And I warned everybody that I would pick people at random if we didn't get volunteers. So Daniel, you're nominated. Oh, wait. All right. But that is really important. I'm going to try and make those meetings too and help out. It's been busy.
So maybe hopefully Megan can send out another one of those
Meeting setter thingies?
Yep.
Yes. I'll get that out next week, and then we'll shoot for the week after that for actually.
Okay.
What time are you?
We'll determine that. I'll send out like a when to meet thing and see when most people are available, and we'll try to go off of that because these are typically all Zoom anyway. It'll be convenient.
It might be to the point where you just make it a topic of discussion here, if you're having a hard time pulling people in.
We can do that.
It just seems like that's going to be. Sometimes it's just too many meetings for people to attend, and so if you're not having any luck, just throw it on in to discuss, and we can all brainstorm here.
So let's try the meeting thing. If we don't get a good group from that, then maybe we can discuss during the leadership meetings, setting a set amount of time during the monthly meetings to discuss.
Sounds good.
And just have it reoccurring on our monthly.
Okay.
Okay.
Daniel.
Youth Action Team participated at the Grant County Health District event And then we will also be having a drink stand table May 20th and 21st, our last fundraiser.
Great. And the health district event was the Youth Prevention Summit, correct?
Yes.
Awesome. How did that go?
The kids were tired when we got to present.
They were tired?
Yeah.
Oh, so did you have to like walk around and shake them or throw water on them or?
No, we
No.
just went through our spiel and then it was done.
Okay.
No, they did good.
Good.
They did good.
That's exciting to hear. Connie, do you want to speak for Austin? Just in case?
I don't know what he's doing.
Okay.
So all this stuff. So
No worries.
I was hoping he told me he would be here, so he may just be running a little bit late.
Okay.
But
Or it's also a maze to get back here, so if he got lost in one of the corridors. Hopefully the ghost didn't get him.
but I think overall we're just, we're dealing with the Narcan machine and how that's going to change. And
Okay.
great programs.
Sounds good. Okay, so since the last meeting, a lot of things have happened. So we did present to City Council on it was
April 22nd.
April 22nd, and as expected, it was contentious, and we were accused of being a means for one person to have a salary, which was wonderful, which is, everybody who's here knows that that's not true, and some of this stuff, we just kind of have to let it go. But there are some things happening in the community, like there's a bigger discussion around substance abuse in the community right now. There's a bigger discussion around homelessness. And we exist to have those discussions, whether, we're not, I'm not here to tell anybody how they have to think, but we do need to have the discussions, and that's what we exist for. So our town hall happened 2 days after the city council meeting.
It did?
Was a great success. We had tons of people there. Online, we had tons of viewers. Before the end of the meeting, we had over 3,000 viewers online. So that's pretty good. I mean, that means that we're speaking things that are relevant to the community, and not that we were actually speaking. It was people who are living in their experiences, but getting that conversation organized was very good, and well done. Job well done, Megan. Because Megan is a pro at doing these town halls, and I get to tag along and claim credit, but Megan's doing all the work.
Don't we all?
Yeah, but that went really well. I did give the whole video from the big camera to Rob from the paper. I'm going to follow up with him because I haven't seen them post that. He said he was going to post that to the paper's YouTube account. So if that doesn't happen soon, I'm going to put it up on ours because that angle and the microphone that I had on that camera are a little bit better. So we can keep working that. There are some things that we're going to discuss today surrounding the entirety of these issues, but right now in the community, we're looking at a few things that can have an impact on prevention. So closing the sleep center is that's a support service where if people are down on their luck and not having a good time, or could be in the future, feeling like you don't have support or hopelessness, are things that contribute to addiction tremendously. I think every person that we've interviewed for the documentary so far said, lack of support and hopelessness were two of the main things that led to the situation that they had to eventually recover from. So part of our work, even though it's not directly prevention related, is making sure that we're presenting the evidence of what things work and what things don't work in the community. So you're probably going to continue to see me out there talking about these things, and sometimes those conversations are uncomfortable, especially online. That doesn't bother me, but if anybody here has any questions or wants to discuss it, feel free to reach out. Or if anybody wants to talk about it now, we can do that briefly. If anybody has anything.
There's a lot, and I know you said briefly, so there's a lot of points to cover, but
Yeah.
Definitely, we have to revisit that and break that package down.
Okay. Sounds good, and we'll probably be doing that a little bit in our engagement because all of this stuff fits together. So let's move to. We kind of did committee reports already. Megan, would you mind sharing a little bit? Youth. Oh, we rescheduled the youth drop-in committee. That was just a conflict of schedule. The Key Leader event. Oh, I didn't mention the Key Leader event. Do you want to do the Key Leader event, or do you want me to talk about it?
I don't mind talking about it.
Go.
All right, okay. So Key Leader event this year was, just as a reminder, this is the event that we do on an annual basis with all of the other prevention coalitions in Grant County. This year's event was hosted by Soap Lake. Quincy was not able to participate, but the other 4 coalitions did participate together, and our theme was the power of one, finding your role in prevention. So the purpose of the event was really to help people sort of come in and be a part of active discussions and really sort of understand when we say prevention, what do we mean? What kinds of things are prevention? And kind of get more of a handle on that. I feel like whenever everyone asks me like prevention, what do you mean? It's like, I don't even know where to start sometimes because you can really get into the weeds with that kind of stuff. So it was cool to have hands-on experience. We were at about 50 attendees, and Royal City and Mattawa showed up and showed out big time. Mm-hmm. It was mostly attendees from their community that filled the room, although we were super grateful to see Liz and Doug there from the city, and like our library friends were there. So we did have, there was some Moses Lake in the room. But I think overall, I think it went really well. I think we got a lot of positive feedback. People prefer that sort of interactive, make it make sense approach rather than, if anybody remembers our Key Leader events from the past, for a couple of years we had a professor sort of join us from UW and kind of give higher level data and science about it. People don't really gel with that as much as the hands-on, let's do some work today thing. So I think we'll be keeping with that
both
tone.
exciting and bums me out because like the data stuff. I'm such a
you
data
love
nerd.
data.
But it's fascinating. Like he would come and talk about like placebo effect and how it works with alcohol and drugs. Like they did trials where people didn't have alcohol, but they were told they did, and they started acting drunk, like just because they thought they were having it. So it wasn't the alcohol that was letting them loosen up a little bit. It was
the expectation.
Yeah, it was the expectation.
It's really
So
fascinating.
it is really cool, but we're like we need to do what works locally. So these discussions, I hope we can kind of mix the two.
Yeah.
Eventually, like because I mean honestly, like all of us have things that we believe that maybe the evidence doesn't support. I've been guilty of that many times. But like, how do we have the discussion in a way that like we're using facts or the evidence, and so that was good. Anything else on the Key Leader event?
No, that's about it.
All right, and I covered the town hall. Oh, and I just lost what I was going to say. Gosh darn ADHD. All right.
Yeah.
Relatable.
It's going to come back after the meeting. Okay. So our engagement piece today is interesting. So we weren't going to break out into groups for this
Not for
one.
this one.
Okay. So we're going to have a discussion. And this is to keep us focused on, what are our goals as a group here? So the questions that we have are, what would it look like if our coalition's efforts were wildly successful over the next year? So, like, what does success look like? So that when we achieve it, we know we've achieved it. What changes would we see in Moses Lake? What's already working well that we should double down on? and what would need to shift for us, for the community to get there. So those are the things that we're going to go over. I just wanted to give everybody a rundown before we actually dig in. But I'd love to hear from everybody else. I could probably go on forever about what success looks like over the next year, but let's just open it up. What would it look like if our coalition's efforts were wildly successful over the next year?
So I can speak from the initiative that I'm right now helping and spearheading is the youth drop-ins.
Mm-hmm.
What would look successful in a year from now would be having the oh my goodness, it's the Youth Dynamics building being used efficiently and effectively by all the ministries in town.
Okay.
So right now, my church is involved with the youth drop-in, and I'm talking to other ministers. But in a perfect world, if the goal was achieved, would be that working together with Sean and having every other Friday a church involved in that building and having hands-on volunteers from the coalition and mostly residents and parents and families. So that's the goal, right? Is it going to be at the end of the year? It all depends on the work we put in. So right now, I know that Sean is really busy with Springfest, but we did discuss after that, meeting up and having that discussion of what that would look like, and have some churches work with us and have every Friday at least, depending on the group of kids, we want 8 to 10 volunteers, and so a lot of that is how can we effectively communicate to the churches for them to have the volunteers, but also to the coalition and anybody else that wants to get involved. So from where I'm spearheading, that's what success would look like.
Sounds good. And we do have like newer names both online and here. So I do want to mention that our job as a coalition, and it's in our it's basically how we're founded, is to ensure that programs that are effective at preventing substance abuse exist in the community. It is not our job to actually facilitate every program. Okay, this was a great example where we've already got drop-in centers. We're not staffing all of those. We can, it definitely help out if you're able to volunteer. But our job is to make sure it exists and then to plug any holes that can be plugged. So if there's a portion of the community that's just doesn't have the same, or have a safe place to be and something to do for kids, that's where we want a drop-in center. So
and i.e. getting the involvement, just really pushing for that, and I think more than anything, having those conversations and then seeing the fruit of that. So that's where we're going towards right now, working with my church, and then again, talking to other churches. And a lot of churches already do things, but what I find is a lot of churches want to do things, but they rent the buildings, so they don't have that say. So that's where, again, the Youth Dynamics, and I had a conversation, he said, I'm more than willing to open up the building for people to come and use it, but I need that buy-in of other people being volunteers there. And if you can guarantee me that there's volunteers there, we can do this. So I said, okay, if people are willing to do the work, we will find a place. Yeah. And it doesn't have to be Youth Dynamics, and this isn't any of our programs. If there's people willing to do the work, we will find the means to do it. So that's a great example.
Donna has her hand up on Zoom too.
All right, Donna?
Hi, so we're myself and the director of our program are wondering kind of what's there for those that don't identify with a church. Because our organization, we just changed to a recovery-based program. It moved locations, and now we're right across the street from the Lakeside Motel, and we've got people coming in and out and asking where they can go. They can come here, and we can give them some resources. But what is there to catch the people that don't have that religious affiliation?
So I'm sorry, and I want to actually clarify that we're not pushing religion. It's activities, relationships, having conversations, playing games, and then learning a skill. So it's not so much that we're pushing religion, it's that's there if you would like to hear it. And so that's why we wanted a neutral spot. Like Amherst is a neutral spot, right? Yeah. And so that's the goal. And I'm sorry,
most
is this
of
for kids or for adults that she's asking?
oh,
Our program?
Yes.
Our program serves families as well as mainly 17 and above in our facility, but we are peer-based program.
so that still works. So I'll also go on this. So the youth drop-in centers, we actually have a little bit of a focus right now on faith-based because that was one of the holes that we had for youth drop-in centers. Like I was not great at recruiting churches when I was running that thing. It's just not my strong point. So Richard stepped in, and that was one of our goals was to increase the faith-based community. But most of our drop-ins are secular. Like they're not faith-based right now. So that was like a goal of ours to get it. And then after we're successful with that, and maybe during the work on that too, we'll find other holes and plug them too. So yeah. What else?
Donna, something that I could do for you and your clients online is North Central Washington Clubhouse.
I think that is them.
Oh, that is them?
Yes.
So we are North Central Washington Clubhouse. We're actually, like I said, we have changed our focus from a clubhouse because that just wasn't being, people didn't really understand what the whole focus of that was. So we're a recovery community organization, and we have moved to 727 West Broadway.
That's awesome.
So yeah, I'd love to. Brandy actually will probably reach out.
Yes,
and,
okay. I've spoken with Brandy. Yeah, okay. That's why I didn't recognize the name Donna. I'm like, I know the program. That's
I'll
Yeah,
also
she's the director.
mention.
So
I'll also
I
mention.
should-
Oh, sorry.
yeah.
For everybody, so everybody online, people in the room can't see your name. So when you speak up, if you could just introduce yourself so that everybody here can hear you, that'd be great. I didn't tell you to do that before, so I apologize. And so youth, as defined in our charter, is birth to 22?
Well, it's 24 and below.
24 and under. So, like, this is still technically youth as far as we're concerned. Okay, Connie.
Well, I do like Richard's idea of utilizing youth dynamics for that. I understand that it's okay. My thing is I know a lot of kiddos that would not feel comfortable going there. They just won't. It doesn't matter if it's not a religious thing. They're not going to go there because of how they identify.
Because of what?
How they identify.
Can you elaborate a little bit more? On what do they
Our LGBTQ kids don't always feel comfortable going to anything that's related to religion. We will try to figure out, I mean, obviously our space can be utilized for stuff like that and we want to. And I know that we're still talking about the downstairs and how that area can function a little bit better. We do need to have a serious talk about capacity for the library staff themselves. But we're down. However we can. We love our kiddos. Yes, I have this.
But so this is a great kind of part of the discussion, like what success looks like. Like we can all have different focuses. We're trying to cover every kid, and so that's simple to say. Oh, we're going to cover every kid, but taking the time to think, what does that mean? Does that mean that you have one place and all the kids are expected to go there? Of course not. Like there's always going to be situations that kids are not comfortable in. So we're trying to make a place where every kid in the community at least has a place to go, okay, and something to do, and a place where they feel like they belong, okay. So that it's protective factors. We went over those a little bit before. I think I was going to write an article about that, and I haven't done it yet. But so protective factors are the good things that we're trying to create in the community, and we're trying to eliminate risk factors. So youth drop-ins is a good point. Is there anything maybe that is not youth drop-ins related that we would define as wildly successful over the next year?
We've got Brenda with her hand up.
Go to Brenda first.
Okay, we'll go to Brenda first. Oh, can't hear you. No.
She can type it in the
Brenda,
chat.
I'm gonna let Lynn go, and when if your speaker starts working, just speak up and interrupt us, okay?
I agree with the youth drop-in, both on with Youth Dynamics and with other areas within our community, but also another area that would make us be successful is having some form of steady income to be able to help out certain areas, either it be for supplies for the youth drop-in areas or to purchase supplies needed, the lock boxes, the lock bags, the signs and paper, and that way it's not having to come solely out of our budget, but to have that source of income coming into the coalition to where we can be able to afford to help support all the different avenues that our coalition is working on for prevention.
Do you guys accept donations?
And that's donations is falls under the fundraiser umbrella.
Yeah.
Is being able to accept donations through the fundraisers.
So wildly successful as far as our funding is concerned, and this is like critical right now because funding comes from the government right now. And I know there's people in the room that are very familiar with government funding and how that's all up in the air. So this is why it's super important. Like, if a grant runs out, or if the government decides, nope, we're not funding that anymore, like, do we all want to give up and say, oh, we tried because the government's not doing it, or do we actually want to continue and like finish the job that we're all here to do? I know what my answer is, but so that's a big thing. So, like, what would wildly successful look like in a year as far as fundraising goes?
What would fundraising look like in a year?
If we were wildly
Right.
successful.
I would like to see 2 events happen per year. Like, my brainstorming idea is like a spaghetti feed, and then like a taco bar feed, and you pay for the plate. You come in, we have activity. We get to show what the coalition has done for the past year or for the past 6 months, and then 6 months, and do different activities during that time, sort of like an event.
What if we let us try a different path here? Like, would 10% of the coalition funding be from fundraising?
That would be nice. That would be nice.
A quarter would be.
Even better. Yeah.
Yeah.
A
Much
quarter
more.
would be much
Well, it's just because
small
everything we get now.
300% would be like perfect.
Yeah.
But
No, we want a
like
good
in the
piece of
first year,
it.
10%, and then the second year, 25%, and hopefully and as we get out there, it grows. And
There's just
So
so
this
many
is like
strings
this
attached.
is goal setting. So what are
Yeah.
like is 10% wildly successful? Is 20% wildly successful?
I
What
would-
number do we think it is?
within a year, I would like to reach the 10%, but then I would like to set goals for us to continue to increase it.
Yep.
And have different.
She was up first.
One thing that comes to my mind is at our congregation, every year we have a review of who we're giving to. And it's community organizations that we're giving to. We're not just giving to religious organizations, it's all kinds of things. Overseas, here in town, so measurably speaking, and then visioning. Groups like this that I've been involved with before, the goal was always to get off the government, the money.
Yeah.
And how we would do that was to get the community knowledgeable enough that they really understood our mission. People that we keep at a distance, we're not going to get money from them.
Mm-hmm.
People that we bring in and we learn to relate to, they see, oh, well, we want the same thing. Essentially, we want safe community. We don't want people croaking on the sidewalks from fentanyl overdose, etc. So I could foresee I mean, what the picture that came into my mind concretely was like a phrase that went through my mind. Every faith-based group has a line item for MLCC 1 year from now. Because we have to vote on it. Just, it's very democratic process. Do you guys want to give $500 to this? Do you want to give 1,000 to this? What if that was going on in every single faith-based outlet? And then it spread from there to other organizations like the Chamber of Commerce and the businesses that are involved. That is something measurable because we can start reaching out to the people that we know and networking them. And then when they say, oh, aren't you the guys that are encouraging people to use fentanyl? Hey, that is awesome because it opens up a discussion. What do you mean? Where'd you hear that? And then we're talking and we're educating and we're meeting 3 or 4 goals in one conversation, which is so exciting. But I mean, I'd love to be sitting at next year's congregation meeting at my congregation with a line item on our budget.
No. Both of you, I just want to go back to what you were saying. Having an event that focuses all of the committee and then or all of town, and having involvement of artisans, live music, art, and guest speakers, poetry, creating that, and that's beautiful. And then I want to go back to what you said, and I'm sorry, remind me your name, please. Allie. With that being said, your church is very mature. I can tell that it's at a level where you guys are giving to all different organizations. That's what the original church did. That's what the original faith-based communities created. All of the higher level learning that we have in this country, Princeton, Yale, Harvard, it was Christian based. Right. And so, to second that, a lot of that ability and thinking from ministers and congregations has been lost. So we have to re-educate a lot of the churches in town. A lot of churches and a lot of people don't give because like, oh, it just goes to the pastor. But I can tell that where you attend, it's very mature. And so if you guys are at a high level where you guys are able to give and your members understand that power and understand where the money's going. That being said, that has to be done across most. It's like, can it happen? Yes, I truly believe because that is how everything started. The faith-based community started everything in this country. And so, like I said, this is it's well documented, you can research this. That can happen here in this small community. We can make that change if we have those discussions. And the faith-based community does not at all, how would I say, discriminate or look at other cultures or religions. In fact, we welcome them in because we are showing the love of Christ. And so by showing the love of Christ, there is progress by default in the community and people. And so you are going to see a community grow. And so I'm really excited when you brought that up, what that could look like and what we can do as a coalition of creating an event, what that would look like and getting the buy-in from the community. So it's not too far-fetched. I think it's listing down what that would look like and then slowly start to create that.
So with
donations.
Yeah. So let's try and nail down like what. So wildly successful as far as fundraising goes. What is that? What's the number? Like I just kind of like.
What is the number now?
Could everybody vote?
What is that number now? Right now, currently, what is our for donations?
It fluctuates a little bit right now as far as private donations for privates. We nothing. We get city funds at $15,000 a year for this year. Anyway, you have to request it annually to try to keep it going.
So that's still governmental.
It is, and it does have some strings in that it has to align with our mission, and we lay out ahead of time. Here's the types of things.
Yeah.
But it's much more flexible than what we say, what we get from like state and federal government. State and federal government, our base is at $130,000, but that is primarily expended on employing and like staffing basically. So there's not as much for programming, and we also just got the HIDA grant. So this year we'll have an additional 50, and then next year, what is next year? 32, something like that, somewhere up in there. And then other than that, we've got some little things that we go for. Sometimes we can get a couple $1,000s through Thriving Together or through Confluence and Wenatchee Valley Medical Group. Like those are usually like $2, $3, sometimes up to $5,000, and we get those as they become available. We can ask for them. So there's not like this solid, this is how much we get every year. I would say if you wanted to like think sort of like on average, what would we have? I probably 170, 175 is a decent average to look at. I don't know, for the past, few years? Maybe, well, at least for the past, I've been here 3 years. So
I
at
think
least for
we're
the past 3.
overthinking this.
Yeah.
On the private side,
based on
the
that, I would go
Private
with
side,
$10,000.
nothing.
Nothing. So
Nothing.
we don't have nothing from Boeing. We don't have nothing from
No.
Walmart. We don't have nothing from Sick. We don't have nothing from the big
No.
Lowe's, Home Depot.
Yeah.
So I guess how do we then come up with something to address reaching those corporations?
We're not to that point yet.
Okay.
We're setting goals.
Okay.
Start with 10%.
I would go with
10%?
10%.
Everybody online agree?
That's a lot, though. Even if we can say the max 10%, and realistically even 3 to 5.
I'm going to be happy if we get
One.
money.
Yeah, that's what I said. That's what I said. Like something that we
I
can
have
really
a
push.
dollar.
Yeah.
Well,
That's
that's
so.
technically how you should set goals. You
That's
should
what I'm
set
saying. That's why mine has a
extreme
coordinated.
vision
Yeah,
goals
that's
and then
it.
more
We're not.
realistic and then
We're not
realistic.
setting a goal that we get all bummed out if we don't
Okay.
hit it.
It
Oh,
says
okay.
We're setting.
wildly
we're just
successful.
wildly successful.
Oh, well, it's
Yeah.
10% is
10%.
wildly successful.
Okay, there we go.
10% of, so our operating budget is X dollars.
Well, that's
Yeah,
Just-
around
Just-
175.
So if we went 10%, okay, okay.
Yeah. And then Elizabeth Online was asking where we donate at.
Yeah, that's
We'll get back to everybody because we don't have an easy way to do that right now.
No, but it will probably eventually be through Columbia Basin Foundation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah, you should, that'll be something you'll want to figure out, because if we start blasting, I was
Don't blast yet.
blasting,
Yeah.
Like we can blast it on the city social media pages. We're going through all this.
Other types of success. I'll let her go
That's
first.
fine. I would like to see, well, it has aligned with my work too, but I would like to see us like involved in presenting at the schools, talking to the kids.
Expanded presentations.
Middle school and high school.
Even elementary.
And
schools,
elementary.
Because we are dealing with elementary schools now.
I want
Do
to
a-
expand beyond that, not just schools, because like there's a lot of things that like we need to educate our community about. So it's not just kids.
Adults.
Yep. So an education focus. What's an achievable goal? Like 5 schools and everybody in the community 100% agrees with us at all times.
Of course.
Wildly, right? We're still
That's not reasonable.
I would see
But-
the high school every year, or alternating between the high school and Vanguard, right? Maybe even
And middle
CB
schools.
Tech. Well, so one of those 3 schools every year, alternate those 3, and then one of the middle schools every year and alternate, and then do a couple of the elementary schools and alternate them through every year.
What you would,
Yeah.
what you would probably want to do, is tie that to some kind of programming that we have, right? So like if we're
Like
talking, we're
PACS.
going to talk to the middle schools, then we would want to go and talk to them about Hope Squad or something that they can actively get involved in. Because what doesn't work is going into a school environment and giving a presentation this year, and then that's it. That does absolutely nothing, and it's a waste of our time and energy. But if we could tie it to these things, like maybe we hit up the high school and we go there, we talk about youth drop-ins, and we have a way to get them connected to a bunch of different options, we tie it to these programs or strategies that we're actually doing, that would be super powerful.
Yes.
But we have to be ready to go on all these other things to have them in place, because we can't go and talk about it to these kids and be like, catch you in 6 months when we get it together. We've got to be ready to go for that.
Yeah.
But yeah, for sure.
I think from a very outsider's perspective, and also informed by that council meeting I recently saw, the outreach to the community, like maybe looking at press, like how often you're in the paper and trying to pitch stories, to really encourage the community to understand what this is about. So then hopefully the politicians are hearing what this is about as well. I think that really also goes hand in hand with the corporate sponsorship and maybe donor campaign or something like that. But just really, I was, I won't go too long, but I was shocked by that. Like in Spokane, like the prevention coalitions are like revered and celebrated. Like harm reduction coalitions, we have a harder time with, right? But prevention, like you're just trying to get kids to not like use drugs, like this isn't super controversial to us, right?
Yeah.
So that message is something that like most people can get behind relatively easily. And I think that it's just about, and maybe you're doing this already and I'm just not aware of it. That's why I prefaced with like owning that I'm from out of town, right? But getting that outreach to the community, and whether it's through the newspaper or, I think that it sounds like that roundtable discussion is very, very worthwhile. Events like that, I think, is super important to just really rally support in general. So that there's like this, you feel the support, and then people start, showing the support.
That's good.
Is a good point. And we do
have
get
town
that
halls.
sometimes.
Yeah.
Like, what? It's helping kids. How can anyone be against that? And we're like, I don't know. Explain it to me. But yeah, I do think it is a matter of getting people to be able to understand it. And Brenda made a good point on here too, that even if we're not directly talking to students, if we can at a bare minimum, really getting there with some school staff and then allow them to carry those things forward in their spheres, that's doing a lot too.
Maybe like
and Devin agrees.
an editorial on, results of the most recent Healthy Youth Survey and how the coalition's working to address these needs or something like that. Just to less, I don't know what all is going on, but it sounded like there was controversy around like the Narcan stuff, right?
Yeah.
And like, I'm very much wanted to like naloxone distribution and all that. But maybe other topics as well that are less controversial that will increase community buy-in.
I don't know what is less controversial today, though. Like,
that comes
to just
from you.
honestly, like,
Anti-vaping, like
an excellent
getting
point.
kids to not start vaping,
Yeah.
that's always low-hanging fruit for us.
I like that. And I'm overdue in publishing a editorial. So, and the next one was going to be on protective factors, which is, pretty not controversial. I think until I post it, and then maybe it'll be controversial. We'll see.
Well, that's what Liz is saying.
Yeah.
Anything coming from you is controversial for a minute.
Okay.
Connie had something.
Connie, would you like to tell the whole class?
Yeah.
She reminded me of the aiding and abetting comment, and I still think that's hilarious.
Oh.
So I texted you that. So I don't know how to make it happen because we're struggling with the same thing, but improving relations with the city. Both the staff, which ours are pretty comfortable, but the council. I don't know how to make that happen. So if you have any ideas, work down because
I agree.
So,
If I had the answers, guys, I would give them to you, just so we're all clear here.
let me take this out of your hands for a minute, because I don't want it. We're live streaming. I think some inroads were made after the town hall. We did have 2 counselors come and attend the town hall, and I talked to both of them afterwards, even though that was uncomfortable going up afterwards. But both of them said they want to work together, so now we have to take that and go with it. So we gotta turn those words into action. So yes, and that is our job, is to work with everybody. And there's been an interesting thing. Like a lot of the times, even when I'm online and it's contentious, like usually I'm just sharing evidence. Like I'm not even sharing my opinion. But evidence is controversial right now. So we could all maybe wildly successful involves finding an effective communication strategy that gets the evidence more well known to the public. Because it's not a city council problem. Let's be honest. The city council reflects
Where
the
community's
community,
at.
and it's not all of the community, but like it definitely reflects a portion of the community, and these opinions are not unique to the people there. So we need to figure out the communication method that works for us to come together, because honestly, I don't understand what they're saying a lot of times either. I'm like, I don't get how you get there. So we both have things to learn from each other.
I'd like to add to clarify from a city standpoint, that's an exact prime reason as to what has led the decisions that have been made to close the sleep center and, start to question about what the place of the municipal government as a city, the city of Moses Lake, has a role when it comes to the issues in our community, right? It's the whole concept of when you start to spread yourself out too thin, you're not doing anything good. Instead, you're doing a lot of mediocre work everywhere. The capacity that the city is at right now is just not sufficient enough. The resources are lack of, just like council has stated before. And I know it's not the answer that everyone agrees with, but that is the answer that our elected officials have chosen to go with. Again, our elected officials, right? These people are elected, and so I'd like to remind everyone, it's election year. You got to make sure you keep an eye out on that kind of stuff if you're interested in voicing your opinions. Council meetings are a great place to do that. I know it can be a little bit scary, but we're doing our best as a city to take into consideration all the things that are changing and all the voices that are now coming, which is the silver lining that has come out of a lot of these tough conversations, to have people are finally talking. People are finally having discussions about real rooted issues in our community that I don't think everyone in our community has taken the time to accept, right? It's hard to accept that as a rural community, we're impacted with so many different complex issues. And I think the tone of our current administration also has a lot to do with that. But I also want to advocate for council members. I know we don't agree with all of them all the time, but I do have personal relationships with a lot of them. And, we're all human at the end of the day. Some have stronger opinions than others, and we definitely don't agree with those. But it's not easy to be an elected official and get your finger pointed at and told you're wrong and get attacked personally. A lot of the decisions that get made are sometimes because of a majority vote, but that doesn't mean that all council members think that way. So again, not to try to defend anyone, but that is my council, and that is our council, whether we agree with them or not. There are elected officials, right? So those are also conversations we need to have, right? We as taxpayers of this community get to make sure that our voices get heard, but if you don't go to the platform where that should happen, then your voice doesn't get heard.
100%.
Can I shift it away for a sec?
Yeah.
Going back to the idea of what is factual information. The Center for an Informed Public at the University of Washington has a great program called Miss Info Day that involves high school teachers, librarians, and students in hosting things within their community to fight fake news and misinformation and disinformation.
Interesting.
I've worked with them in the past in Quincy. I think it could be a great way to really focus on what is real, what is not real, and partner possibly with them. I do have several contacts there. It wouldn't cost us anything to participate, and you can host it locally. They do provide opportunities to take kids on field trips to Pullman or Seattle, but that isn't a requirement. So it is a cool way to really work within your local community to combat misinformation.
I'm sorry, what was that called again?
It's Miss Info Day, but it's at the UW Center for an Informed Public.
We're gonna follow up with you because I love free.
They've been doing it since 2019.
But
I started 2021, I think.
Yeah, and we partnered with UW for the town hall too, and they've been good to work with. But the issues of people coming together to discuss things, that's not new. That's not going away. So any program that we have that definitely furthers prevention work because there's stigma around so many things.
I mean, it would require an in with the schools, but we could be coming.
Schools are coalition members
with multiple avenues.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So.
Okay, I got to move us faster. because that was just the first one. What changes would we see in Moses Lake?
I think from my standpoint, I always go back to centering our families that are furthest from access, so that are living in poverty, that are single family households. And although I do think that our city does a great job of offering a variety of activities, it costs money at the end of the day. And so if you're already having trouble paying your rent, your basics, you're not gonna enroll your kiddos in any recreational activities. And I know that the Parks and Rec does offer a scholarship program. The last time I looked at it, so it could have changed, but the last time I looked at it, it was worse than applying for welfare. And yes, and if I think now they have it in Spanish, when I looked at it, that wasn't even an option. And so I think really centering what our demographics actually show, the data, on offering different resources. So for me, my mentality has always been everything that we do, it has to be an investment. And I think that that's the problem with our society is we want to see change now, and that's not going to happen. We have to continuously put in the effort and the investment, and I do think that like our kids are going to be the best investment. So I think really looking at some type of possibility of offering that free of charge to those families that have shown that they lack those resources. It goes hand in hand with combating our gang issue that we have. If there isn't anything for them to do, and we also don't have two-parent households, that's going to play a huge role in what the outcomes are.
Mm-hmm. So the Icelandic prevention model actually centers around that, where kids get, what was it, $75 a year?
It's some kind
on a
of
card?
like stipend on a card.
Yeah.
I think it was.
And they get to choose what activities they want to do. It might have been $700.
Yeah, I want to say it was something hundreds of dollars every year. Their card gets renewed with this to participate in whatever they choose to use it on.
And Moses Lake had the ticket to play. It was offered
Prescription to play.
A prescription to play.
Yeah.
And it was short-lived. But that I would like to see that come back. But yes, to focus with our poverty families, but not to just limit them.
Yeah.
Have either, because I want to say it was through Molina or Coordinated Care that
It
program
was
ran.
the Foundations of Samaritan and Confluence,
Okay. So,
which I don't think was called Confluence at the time.
right. But have it for all youth. So, from 3 to 18, you go in for your well child exam for that year, you get a ticket to play, a prescription to play whatever one event, one
Yeah.
sport.
Iceland did that, and it was like universal, every kid. And their substance use rates today are practically nil, because every single kid can participate in several things throughout the year. Every year, it's dependent on.
Yeah, their graph of kids using went down and then it stayed flat. And that's what we want. Like that. Talk about wildly successful. Like that.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
it.
And the earlier you get them into sports and activities, they'll stay with it.
So there's a natural born tie. You just articulated it. We want to be sustainable. There was this thought bubble that came into my head about like a goal that every single congregation or faith-based group would have a line item of some size or other. Given that everyone has an orientation around this, and we're never going to change that, we live in a culture of not only offense but rage right now. This is so user-friendly. My little fantasy that popped into my head, looking it up, what if every single business, faith-based, stop asking for money from the government? They are not, because, let's move beyond that, right? Donate it toward how many kids are you going to sponsor? A card costs this much. This year we will sponsor 10 kids.
Yep.
That ties both of those goals together and also helps helps people become more literate about prevention So there's 3 goals,
Mm-hmm.
and it's also indirectly part of a positive community norms campaign.
Mm-hmm.
And that's all reportable on a grant application.
Mhm.
So that would be a beautiful, elegant way to tie several different aims into one effort, which would be so exciting. Like, I would love to go talk to 25 faith-based groups and show them this, and talk about the cards, and show them slideshows of Iceland and what happened, and how excited the people are. That is something that could be a dynamic way of sharing, rather than, here I am to ask money, we have this horrible problem. This is super marketable. It's exciting. That's very cool.
I like what you said about businesses and faith-based, and back to that idea that in a perfect world, we don't rely on the government, we self-sustain. How do we create a marketable plan like that for Moses Lake, for Moses Lake, and talk to these businesses? I like what you said, the articles and getting, sponsorship from corporations. How can we tie this in and start at a small level, something realistic to the local businesses, but also, push this to the big corporations that are in our town already. It's not that hard to get a hold of them. It really isn't. There's a 1-800 number there, and I would like to help you guys. Yeah.
But when you think about small scale, like what comes to my mind is we have our beautiful updated rec center, Squire Peninsula, which is a high poverty area. That should be maxed. It should be full. It is not because there's a cost to it.
And that cost is not cheap.
Exactly. Yeah.
Where is it?
In the peninsula area.
Off of Broadway, way down off of Broadway.
It's where the baseball fields are.
Oh, right. That's
The racetrack.
Okay.
That's a beautiful building.
Yep,
There's a
it
lot
is.
to do there. That building should not be empty. That every yeah.
But we rent it occasionally for meetings, and it is not cheap.
Which is why it's very, very, very occasional. So
Yes.
you will
What's
see
the
us having a
incentive,
meeting.
I guess, how could we pull our resources that we have now to be able to work with them?
I think this has got a lot to do with just marketing it and pitching it. So putting together some kind of informational that we all take forward to our various contacts and spheres of influence, and then I just publicize it. I think, you get that pushed out there and see who comes to the table first, and that kind of thing grows. The more people come to the table and start to see the benefits of it, you would hope within not too crazy of a span of time that we have it like Iceland does, and every kid in Moses Lake gets a card at the beginning of every school year. And
Or can just show up for the activity. Forget the card. Like, if they show up, they're in.
Yeah.
I
The
kind of
answer's
like
always
the
yes.
idea of the card because it's concrete, and even potentially, like a project I did recently as a volunteer for the Cancer Foundation involved a magnet, and it was concrete enough that the families were like, I put QR codes into the magnet, and so families were literally scanning the magnet with their phones, took them to different websites that I wanted them to land on that were related to my goal for them in terms of health promotion. And if you were doing pitches at groups, I noticed quite a change. I was talking, but then they had something in their hand, and they're working with a concrete something with their phone, and they're going, all of a sudden they're engaged, and they're going, oh, look at this, wow, that's really cool. So then their enthusiasm is driving it.
Maybe that's how we scale it too.
Yeah.
Because we could have a certain number of cards available each year based on
100%.
what we're able to support.
And if it got big enough and known enough, you could even have little blurbs like, this year Moses Lake bought 2,500, whatever the cards are called. You want to aim for 30? Anybody 30? Do I hear 30? You can really make it a fun and interactive thing. Like, no, I'm going to outbuy you. Or that little coupon magazine.
We could start a competition for organizations who buy the most cards.
Absolutely. And then, you can take it to the honors banquet thing and the recognition thing and promoting your business because you bought the most cards. There's a lot of offshoots using something that starts small and concrete. And then the whatever center that I've never been in, maybe that there could be like a thingy there, kiosk, placard, whatever, that shows, hey, we have this many people come in through using the cards this year. Look at us go. We're not just this money grubbing you know, we want $10,000 for you to do an event. We're participating with the community. Look how awesome we are. You know, and it helps them feel good.
This would also help spread like the activities through word of mouth. Like if somebody gets a card and their kid's able to do stuff and you see the positive changes in your child, like you're gonna share that with your friends.
One time we did a thing back in the day in Colorado where we came up with a bumper sticker. I think we looked up one of those estimates. Oh, drug use costs this much for the taxpayer every year. So I ordered a bumper sticker. And the bumper sticker, this was back in the day when those different weight loss programs or whatever were super popular. Ask me how. And so our bumper sticker was, want to save $183 million on taxes this year? Ask me how. And we sold the bumper stickers, and it got the conversation started. So, you know, you could even imagine like a little promotional thing about the card.
No, that's true though, because these are healthy alternatives. They're prevention. And there is a statistic for every dollar invested in prevention, it saves the community $18 in other costs that you would be able to avoid from just having solid prevention in the community.
So say you were able to get these cards to 10 students or 10 kids out in the base and you hold the program out at Peninsula, how are they getting to the program?
You're 100% right that transportation is a huge thing here. But I mean, I think that's why.
Partner with GTA.
Yeah.
Or why not work to just reduce the cost in general? Like, what can we do to help the Larson Recreation Center not be as expensive to the local community? I mean, it's a city, it's part of the city. The city is setting the rates. So can we advocate for reduced rates? Like,
Do they have to do a levy to get the thing built or something like that?
I don't think so.
I'm not sure how that was.
So that was a huge expense for them to do it, so they have to pay it all.
And a lot of the sports and stuff, though, they're already all over the place. Like, I mean, I have one that plays, except on the base. I have one that plays softball, and I know they play at Peninsula, they play at Sage Point, they play at Lakeview. Like, ideally, you would have a bunch of options everywhere, so that transportation isn't always a barrier.
Yeah, that's another thing to figure into this. Like, if we start getting options for everybody, we need to get those options to the places that they need to be so that people can take advantage of them. So that's not expecting everybody to come to us. Like, that's
but if a program grows big enough, like the Columbia Basin Softball Association, it's huge. It's ginormous. And there's teams all across this entire city. They're everywhere. So, I mean, and if you have enough kids participating and they're paying their way so the association can afford to operate, these things should be able to keep expanding like that.
And I think that's where, where it says like, where there's people that want to help, like mentors, there's people that already offer mentor, like they're mentors of kids, like this would be huge. Connecting the mentors that are already working with kids to the program we're talking about right now. That's huge.
And for transportation, you know, the kid in Peninsula starts attending this sport and transportation is an issue, start carpooling.
Kind of thinking outside the box, just different ways to get people.
You said GTA, Matt. Partnering up with them.
It's free right now.
Partnering up.
It's free, that's awesome.
Weren't they talking about like adding more stops and stuff?
Yeah, and I think they've got a van you can like borrow. So like all we would need to do is like recruit from organizations that have licensed and insured drivers to and background checked it. Anyways, that's getting into the weeds a little bit. Maybe mapping what's available where, so we know where to like get a map of like what exists for kids in the community and making sure that we don't have any giant holes like the base.
Okay.
Because I do have like a few teen programs at the library that happen every month, but I'll have teens show up one month but not the next because the parents can't bring them in that day. Or it's like there's programs, but again, it comes back to how do they get to where we're hosting these programs.
And then the safety for the GTA, because just because of information that has been shared to me by things that they say happen on those buses, I'm not going to let my kid ride the GTA bus alone.
I would.
You know, exactly. Even if they were a teenager, you know, if they were.
For this sort of thing, I think we would be like making an agreement where it's just kids going.
Yeah. Only kids on the bus.
Elizabeth has her hand up too.
Elizabeth.
Hi guys, I'm Elizabeth with the Boys and Girls Club. I'm loving these conversations that we're having. I can't help to think about the landscape analysis that the initiative that we're working on might be able to pinpoint some of these hot spots where we could potentially, give kiddos in the community these cards. So I don't know if it's something that you want to bring up in our meeting, Megan, but it could be something that, we do have some funding available for the community. So, just food for thought. And a landscape analysis, really what it just shows is like mapping of different areas throughout the community, and those is like Warren, Grant County, but
Sounds good.
That's awesome. Thank you, Elizabeth.
All right, what's already working well that we should double down on?
Can I jump on this one?
Yeah.
I think the town halls have been increasing in participation, and they have become more and more successful. I would like to see 2 in a year, 1 in April, 1 in October.
What about quarterly?
We do have the goal for the quarterly community meetings, and those can look however we determine for those to look.
So, to summarize what those are, the quarterly meetings we're planning on doing are to get more general community member involvement in the coalition, and we're planning on doing those in the evening so that it's not during work hours for people who are not working in this area already. And that, yes, like that, it'd be a community meeting, but they don't have to look like these meetings.
Yeah, it could be.
Yeah. So it could be quarterly kind of mini town halls. They could turn into major town halls. Who knows?
Are these the ones that we were talking about when we wanted to have them at the library?
Yeah,
Yes, and I think we said we would start in July.
we did.
So it's probably a good idea that we're talking about this and maybe getting some kind of idea about where we want to start and how we want that to look. 'Cause
Have the
it's
first
middle of
one
May.
at the July. Have the first one at the library in July.
And rename the town hall committee to the community committee,
Oh, yeah.
because that'll be for like community engagement and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Like it.
That committee is going to be the do things committee. All right. Any other things that are working that we should double down on? Okay, let's move to the next one. What would need to shift for us or for the community to get to wildly successful coalition? What needs to shift?
I think a lot of what we talked about, we covered so much right now in those conversations. Educating the adults and organizations and businesses as to how they can participate, how they can fund their, not only money, but time too. I think there's a lot of businesses and organizations that have volunteering hours. How can we create those events and line that up so that they can be a part of that? And through that, by volunteering and participating, also get, and we're creating that right now. We're literally discussing that right now. This idea of cards and what that would look like. Also, what agency would be in charge of that? So are we saying that Moses Lake Community Coalition would be in charge of loading up those cards or cards?
I think that's too far into the weeds.
Right,
Like we don't know that.
Oh, yeah, we don't know that yet. Yeah.
But like, it doesn't have to be us. I'll say that because like our job is to ensure that things exist, not to do all of it. So whether it's us like managing the finances of the cards, like yes, we can do that.
Right.
We don't have to.
Yeah.
Like we could.
Who would issue?
If somebody comes forward and says we want to do that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you. That's still us doing work.
Yeah.
Like
so
that.
Just thinking that in that aspect. I know it's way out in the weeds, but like thinking that because those are the people that would really partner with us greatly. So whether it's the healthcare system, whether it's banking, whether it's the city, whether it's XYZ, yeah, because those are the folks that will really be the cornerstone to making this a reality.
For me, Josh, right? Is your name Justin? Okay, sorry. He had mentioned that the coalitions in Spokane are like revered and
Well regarded.
well regarded. I would like that to be in Moses Lake. That's the shift that needs to happen. People, the community members in Moses Lake be like the coalition. We need to go to Moses Lake Coalition. You know, new families moving in. Hey, Moses Lake Coalition, that's where it is. Everyone needs to be, and that's the shift that I see that needs to change in our community.
Do you all have neighbor councils here within your city government?
Neighborhood councils?
I don't think so.
Our voter turnout is horrible. That alone should tell you everything.
I find myself thinking, you know, it's hard to survive as a community organization. Capacity building is hard work. It takes a lot of hours. We're asking a lot of the community. We want people to buy into our mission. I've noticed as a nurse that when I get the families involved, not just the patient, all of a sudden it's all hands on deck, and it changes the air in the room. And I sort of wonder if that also is a little bit true. Just stay with me here. That communities sometimes get burned out. Could you give me? How are we valued? What are we doing to help either other NGOs or community capacity building groups or the city? Are we, like my old congregation in Texas, those kids were doing stuff in the neighborhoods, like every 2 weeks they were going and cleaning up somebody's yard. And I mean, they took a community from being hateful and suspicious to like, hey, could you come over? My neighbor need, you know, really showing our hands are in it for you, not our hands are out to get from you all the time. And you could even dream up a slogan. I think I just almost said it right there, right? Mm-hmm. That, like the thing that you said, one voice, pairs of hands, you know? Are we linking together and finding out how can I help your group? One of our volunteers could come out and do such and such, or we could help you at the meeting, or what if the coalition volunteered to be the ones that, I'm just being silly here, but make the brownies for such and such a thing that you guys are doing. And then all of a sudden the coalition is, wow, hey, could you call somebody at the coalition? I bet you they, and then it starts to become a business relationship rather than a one-way.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think we all individually are very involved in different aspects of our community. I think it would be more of always bringing up that like we're a part of this coalition.
Yeah, to make it really visible.
Yeah.
That would definitely help.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. How can we, because so many times in the work I'm doing, how to bring that about, I guess, what publicity can we give this, like, for myself, and I know many of you do many different things. I'm a community health worker, I'm always helping people find resources and services, but at the same time also working with youth. Me and my wife are hosting youth, and we're working with them, and what we want to do, me and my wife, is take these kids to senior centers this summer, and going to clean yards, cut yards, car washes and things, and so at the same time, it's like, you know, donation, but doing services, actually showing these kids what does that look like to go and have a conversation with elderly folks. Or
kind of with our name attached to it, the coalition's name attached to it.
So yeah, and so those are things we got to kind of discuss as far as like how can we, because I know it's always an issue, right, with promoting what we can and can't do. So we have to have those conversations.
We took it down after the council meeting because there was filler text in there that was brought up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
But that's a good point. We need to, like, if people want, we'll do that online. So I let this discussion take up the whole meeting because it was going well, but we do have a few things that we've got to go over in the last 15 minutes here. And not to change it Lynn, but let's.
Yes, we need a.
So the strategic, if anybody's following along on the agenda, the strategic planning and sustainability, I think we're going to do that next month because Megan's got these awesome sheets and we need to fill them out. But also because that's another conversation that is, as important as what we just did, which was imagine what success looks like. So the end of our fiscal year is June 30th. So that means it's time for either for our leadership team, if anybody wants to run for a position, they can. If nobody wants to, you don't have to. But if anybody is considering wanting to be a member of the leadership team, be ready to nominate at the next meeting. Okay, and that's totally fine. If somebody wants to run for chair, please do. This is a community coalition. This is not my coalition. This is not Lynn's coalition. This is for the community. So if anybody wants to do that, that's great. But there's also another thing that we can discuss, and that's expanding the board. I think we're doing a lot of great work in the small group that we are. I think that expanding the board, and I don't know exactly what that looks like, but it gives us the opportunity to have more people that are involved and expanding the reach that we have. So if anybody has any ideas for, if they'd like to see beyond the chair, vice chair, secretary, and youth leader positions on the board, like we could have a treasurer that works with the fundraising team or just keeps track of the financials. Like eventually that's going to be necessary when we're doing a lot of fundraising. But that planning could start now, certainly. So that's an option. There can be we could expand to have a youth focused adult on the board as well. So if anybody wants to make those suggestions or has an idea that they think would be good for the board, please be ready to discuss that at the next meeting, or email it to Megan in between now and then, and we can have that on the agenda so that we can discuss it. So that's it for the business items. Member discussion. I want to give time to anybody who is here who has anything that they would like to share to the coalition.
We're having a youth drop-in on this Friday. We're going to be having it at the park, Cascade Park. So any kiddos that want to come from ages 13 to
24.
24 want to come and join us. Please feel free. And it's a potluck, so everyone's bringing a snack or choice of food they like. We're also bringing some food, so it'll be a surprise. But yeah, we're going to plan to play soccer, volleyball, and then just talk and get to know each other and hear what what kids want to do. What do they want to do? And so planning. That's really this Friday's planning as we're getting to know.
Is there a flyer?
6 o'clock. Yes.
Do you have a flyer or anything?
Oh yeah, it's actually on our Instagram and Facebook.
On your Instagram? Okay.
Yeah, so if you can.
Could you send it to Megan?
Yeah, Megan already.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
I already know how to spell it.
Instagram.
Yeah.
So, thank you,
Okay.
Megan. Yeah.
And we'll share that out on our social media as well.
Oh yeah.
Probably email too, right?
Yep.
Okay. Any others? Yeah.
So every August we do our annual overdose series, it's going to be every Tuesday in August this year. We actually have our call for proposals out right now, so anyone's interested in presenting. We encourage you to write something up. It's basically prevention, harm reduction, treatment, and awareness is kind of what we're looking at with overdose. As the Poison Center, we see everything is an overdose, like poisoning is an overdose, right? It's not about the substance, it's about the dose. So it's really it's broad and fascinating. We get everything from chemical weapons testing that ended up taking out a flock of sheep that toxicologists tracked down to figure out what happened to them, to some of the issues with nalthymine versus naloxone. Or this year we got one proposal for overdose awareness and risks for coroners, because people who are overdosing on fentanyl are having a hard time finding funeral homes that will take care of the body out of fear. So really vast, you know, and honestly, everybody who presents is typically extremely graded, like they put a lot of work into this topic, it's their life's work. And so even if it's not something that speaks directly to you in your line of work, it's just really interesting to lean into, to listen to. I can send a flyer to you all if you want to.
Yeah, please do.
It as well. And it's totally free. Like it's all virtual as well. So it's basically like a conference that the lay public can access.
Very cool. Yep, definitely send that my way.
Okay. Anything else?
Nothing on.
Nothing online? Nobody in here? Okay. Upcoming events, senior picnic is June 11th, 10 to 2. Are we handing out locking boxes again?
If we happen to hear that we get the funding for it, it will be a last minute rush to get the stuff for it. We will if we can.
Okay.
If not, it'll be something else.
I can also probably just see if we have.
Awesome. That's always a hit there.
Yeah. I know. I thought
Senior
last year-
picnic, it's at the Grant County Fairgrounds, June 11th from 10 to 2.
Yeah. Last year we handed out 300 lock-in medication boxes. So it's a pretty big event. It's like very widely attended.
Wow.
Yeah.
And just to like why that's prevention, like if kids can't get the stuff, they can't take it. So that is prevention, that is core, right?
Yes.
Direct
And
prevention.
anyone interested in working the senior picnic should let me know.
I'll check my calendar and see if I'm available.
I'll try to make it too, but I've typically been not very good at that weekend.
Oh yeah, that hasn't worked
What
for you.
day of the week is it?
It's June 11th.
Wednesday.
Wednesday.
Yeah.
I got you.
Who do if I wanted to come and table with the Poison Center, who would I reach out to for that?
Chamber of Commerce.
Chamber of Commerce.
Yes.
Also, Rural Resources is having a health fair at the park on June 25th. I don't know if you all are aware of you all.
Yes.
Yes.
We put flyers
That's
up
actually the
website
next one on the
On our thing.
Yeah.
We
There you
put
go.
flyers up on our website, Facebook, and Instagram yesterday because the library is hosting Rural Resources for the community health event.
We will also accept volunteers for that
Yep, it's at
event.
the bottom of the email.
And then there's a town hall on homelessness that the city's having on June 3rd. I forget the time, 6:30. It's 6:30, June 3rd, in city council chambers. And it's going to be like a full in-depth discussion. I will be there, obviously, but anybody else who wants to come and discuss prevention would be welcome with open arms. And if anybody is mean, I will stand in front of you and take the hit. Okay? All right, and then that Rural Resources event is June 25th, 10 to 2 at Civic Center Park. That's going to be interesting because Civic Center Park is where we get a lot of complaints from. We should go and use that and make it a positive place.
Yeah. I know, Justin.
We need to talk about that.
Let's talk about that.
After the meeting.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Connie has a beautiful vision for that.
So there's parting thoughts, everybody. If another good thing about prevention is like we can be positive change in the community, and sometimes that means like we'll go out and take over a park and have lots of fun stuff happen there, even if it's
Sierra asked Liz to ask us to mention this.
okay. Then one more thing. Advanced Recovery Navigator Program is having an open house, 105 West 4th Avenue, May 21st from noon until 3. And I'm sure we'll send that out in an email as well.
Yes.
And Recovery Navigators is awesome to work with. So is Oxford House has been. We're gonna like when the documentary gets finished, like you guys are gonna see a lot of that stuff, and the conversations that we've had around that have been eye-opening for me. I learn something every time I talk to those guys. It's really neat, and hopefully lots of people watch it. So that's all I have. Last chance for anybody else to say anything.
Just make sure you sign the sign-in sheet. I'm sorry.
Sign the sign-in sheet, everybody.
So important.
And we captured everybody
Looking at
online,
the
so I
map,
think we're
some
good.
of you did not sign it.
So that is, everybody have a wonderful rest of the month, and we'll see you later.
Thank you. You guys have a good one.
Thank you.